What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you haven't seen either of my first two videos, my name is AJ and this is my 2002 Mustang GT. In today's video, I'm going to be finally completely redoing my interior. Basically, the only thing I've done to it so far is the radio. So today we're going to be installing a full Braum racing interior. I've got seats, a harness bar, harnesses. So the first step of today is to completely remove both front seats, and I'm also going to be taking out my rear seat. And the first step to doing that is there are 4 bolts you have to remove. First 2 are right in front. I don't know if you can see that on this camera. And then the second 2 are in the same spot in the back. So I'm just going to be taking out the front 2, and then I'm going to move the seat forward, and that'll enable me to be able to reach the back ones. Alright, so back seats are almost out. These back 2 right here, there's just little... These back 2 right here, there was just these little plastic covers with a little pin in it, or a little push clip in it. You just pop the clip out and these come right off. And the last thing you're gonna do before you take the seats out is under here there's your power for your power seats. You're just gonna unclip that, and it should be all set to come out. Alright, so the passenger side is the exact same thing. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. But now you're not going to have to worry about that power seating cord. And for those of you wondering, these bolts are 15s. And I do have a little extension, because in the back, you can see that the floor is sloped. So if you have no extension, it's going to be rubbing up against the carpet. Alright, so for the rear seats, to take them out, you're going to want a flathead screwdriver. And underneath, almost right in the middle of your seat right here, you're gonna see, I already popped it, but there's a little latch that you just basically push in with your screwdriver and then lift up on the seat. It comes right off. And then there's gonna be another one on the driver's side over there. All right, and once you have both of those clips popped up, you're just gonna pop the seat up and you're gonna reach in and you're gonna pull those seat belts through. And now with that being done, you can go ahead and just take off this bottom portion. Should come right out. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned up a little bit. The insulation in here was completely destroyed. Probably had a mouse living in it at some point. But to get these seat belts up, you're gonna need a 18 millimeter. And once you're done with that, you're gonna get a 10 millimeter for this bolt and this bolt on the left side. And after you're done finishing that, up here there's another bolt. That is an 8 millimeter. There's one in the middle and there's one on the far left side as well. Once you're finished with that, you're able to get this head unit out so you can pull out your rear seats. All right, actually you're gonna have 2 more bolts you gotta remove. There are 2 10 millimeters. There's one there, and there's one on the left side as well. All right, so if you've gotten to this stage, I actually found out that there are some push clips holding in the trunk rug. So you just gotta make sure that you pull those out first so that you don't take your rug with you. And also, somebody put their aftermarket radio around their rear seat. So I gotta figure out how to handle that real quick. And then they should come out. All right, so rear seat is completely out now. I ended up cutting that wire. I'm gonna splice it back together later. But with the way things look in this back seat, I wasn't going to get a rear seat delete kit, but now that I can see it, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so in order to install the harness bar, you're first going to need to remove your seat belts using a T50 Torx wrench. You got one up here You got one down there. And you got one down here. Once you're finished removing all those, you're going to remove your interior trim. To do that, you have a few push clips you just got to remove. You got two right here. One of mine is missing because it broke off. And then you got a few lining your trunk right here. And once all of those push clips are removed, go ahead and take out the screw that is in your little hanger up here. And then it should all come right off. Once you have your bottom interior paneling off, it's going to be your seat belt holder right here. It's going to be one more Torx screw right here, still T50. Just got to remove that in order to get your seat belt completely out. Now once you've removed your seat belt right here, this actually comes right out, but as you can see, it's a big hole. So I'm just gonna leave that right there. And then your rear seat belts are the same thing, just one Torx screw holding it in. All right, now that you have your top paneling off, you do have yet one more Torx screw you have to remove for your rear seat belt, and then you can completely take off your top interior trim. So as a side note, there is one more push clip on the bottom trim right here. I guess on this side, it was already broken, so I didn't even see that it was there. So yeah, you gotta take off the top one before you take off the bottom one. Huh. Alright, so now that we have all of our paneling out and all of our seat belts out, which you don't really have to do, by the way. You can just take off the top interior trim and your seat belt and then reinstall your factory seat belts if you'd like. So now what you're going to do with this harness bar, you're going to take this plate, make sure it's facing this way, going up like this, and then you're going to take this bolt, the Allen on the end, and you're just going to thread your bolt in, just like that. Alright, so now you're going to take your T50 Torx screw again, you're going to slide it through your plate, and then you're going to screw it back into your OEM place. Just make sure you do that finger tight first so you can make any adjustments for the other side. Alright, so once you got them both in, you can go ahead and tighten them up. Make sure you get them nice and snug, and then you can tighten up your bolts up here, and that is a 8mm Allen wrench. Now that we're done placing our harness bar in, going to be working with these struts. Basically, they're just hand tied right now, so just take out both ends, and then we'll be bolting them from the harness bar down to the floor. All right, so it's been a couple weeks since I filmed what you just saw, so it looks a little bit different in here. Basically, I decided to just stick with the factory seat belts and go without the harnesses in the harness bar, because I realized as I was trying to put the harnesses in that you have to drill new holes in your floor so that you can put your harnesses in. I thought it was just something that you could just bolt to the seat bracket or something, but and in the interest of keeping this as streetable as possible, I decided to just go with factory seat belts. And also I got this rear seat delete kit. It's the Alterum rear seat delete in black. Basically, if you want to know how to install one of those, it comes as a 3-piece complete carpeted kit. Basically, the carpet is flush all the way through, but there's a hole here and here that you can drill in. So basically, I just poked a hole through this hole with a screwdriver, and as you can see, there's actually a cap on there for a bolt, but just poked a hole through there with a screwdriver and then just stuck the bolt through with the cap on. Did the same thing to that. And then this is a 2-piece set right here. It's basically velcroed in the back, and then these 2 bolts right here was where the clip was that held in your rear seats at first. So basically you just take out that clip and then just poke 2 holes here and then just bolt it down on both sides. Also, the last thing for the harness bar is these struts the small hole right here goes, kind of still have it. Small hole right here would actually connect to the harness bolt bar itself with a nut and a bolt. And then this big hole down here is supposed to go where your factory rear seat belt connected to your floorboard with that T50's torque screw. I also could not get that to go in that hole. I'm pretty sure that you need some sort of bracket. It just, for whatever reason, it would line up basically like this or all the way down, and there was just no way of connecting it to the harness bar from the floor. But besides that, that is basically the last thing for the harness bar. All right, so now I got one seat in here as a practice run. That's what it looks like. Now I'm gonna be showing you the process I went through and getting that in. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get yourself a nice level surface. This isn't really the best example, but I'm just using the back of my car. I kept the plastic on it so it doesn't scratch everything up, but it's pretty stable. Then you're gonna wanna grab an Allen wrench, and there are 4 bolts holding it in each corner. Just take those out. And if you got the sliders like I did, you're gonna want the part that actually slides to be on the seat like this, and for the lever right here to be in the back of the seat. In order to stick a bolt into that bottom hole, you're gonna have to move the slider out. It's probably easier with 2 people. If you don't, you can just kind of stick it into a vise. I didn't really tighten it too hard. I don't want to scratch this up too bad. And then there's 2 holes on your lever right here. Just stick those on. Stick those on just like that. And then when you pull up on the lever, should be able to slide that right out. Now you have access to the first one, so you can at least bolt it down to one of them. You can slide it the other way when you have to get to the other one. Alright, so now that you have this bolt in, you can go ahead and just put this back on this side. And then you're going to want to just kind of pull up just a little bit. That'll enable you to slide it backwards. Can't really do it with one hand. You're going to stick this on the holes again. Then you're going to push down on your bar right here. That'll enable you to slide it backwards and get access to this other bolt back here. Alright, so now that you have these 2 bolts in too, you're going to want to just make sure that both of these sliders are set at the same point so that you're not at an angle. Basically, all you have to do is count these teeth right here. And I got about 10 on both sides right now. It doesn't matter the number, obviously, just as long as they're the same. And then if you still have this side in, go ahead and just push this side this way, get it on those teeth. Alright, so now that your sliders are in, go ahead and set up our bracket. Alright, so for the bracket, you got some long arms and some short arms. You're going to want the short arms facing the front because of the way the floor is. Now there's going to be a little bag, a bunch of bolts and washers, and some lock nuts. And basically, what you're going to do is you're going to have your sliders as far back as possible. That way you can stick the bolt through the hole and you'll be able to easily access, or maybe not easily access, but you'll be able to access the bottom of your bolt for the lock nut. And then you're just going to grab a 13mm wrench, hold your lock nut with it, and then you're going to stick it in here onto the bolt and then tighten it with the wrench on it. And also, you're not going to want to tighten it all the way. That way you still have some wiggle room if you have to move your bracket to get any more bolts in. Always make sure you have all your bolts in before you fully tighten them down. And for the front ones, all you got to do is move the sliders all the way forward that way, and you'll be able to stick your bolt in to the other side. Alright, so for whatever reason, I could not find the correct combination of holes to get all 4 of them in. See here, none of these holes would line up with the bolt hole, but I somehow got all 3 of these in. I'm sure if I had the right drill bit, I could drill through either the bracket or the sliders, make it work, but for whatever reason, it's just not lining up. I don't know if possibly the bracket was made for only the seat and not for the sliders, and the holes are different, but for now, I'm running out of daylight, so I'm just gonna keep it like this, and then I'll revisit it in the future. This is just the passenger seat anyways, and I don't even ever have any passengers, so it'll be fine for now. Alright, so if you're like me and you're gonna keep your factory seat belts, this came off the factory seat, just had a 15mm bolt in it. So I just took that off. Basically what you're gonna do is have this facing down because the seat's upside down, and you're gonna want the whole of it to be on the inside of the seat. So you just line up the holes and then you just bolt that in. I'm using the hardened bolt with the T50 Torx on it that came off of my rear seats. Just always nice to have the extra protection just in case something goes wrong. Alright, so brackets on, sliders are on, seat belts on. Now it's time to put it in the car. Alright, so now that your seat is in the car, right here, can't really tell if you can see that on camera, there is a bolt that sticks out of the floor. So you're gonna keep your factory nut that you took off when you took off the stock seats, and you're gonna put that on there, and then you're gonna take the rest of your stock bolts with washers on them, and you're gonna just place them right in the holes where they came from. All right, so the seat is in. It's all bolted down except for 1 bolt, of course. Once again, the holes do not line up, and I definitely don't have time to fix that today, but this front right one is off by maybe 1/8 of an inch, if that. So I'm gonna have to just hook it up to the vise or extend it somehow so that it can reach. But seats in, seat belts are in. You can drive for now, but nothing too crazy. Alright, so with that, I think I'm going to end this video here. Basically everything is done besides the couple of bolts that wouldn't fit for whatever reason. I'll go back and fix that off camera. Just wanted to get you guys the gist of how I put my seats in, and even though I didn't keep the harness bar and all that, just the gist of how to put that in too. If you have any other questions on how I put them in or anything else about my car, please leave that in the comment section below. Hit that like button, subscribe button. I will be doing a full-on review of these seats in my next video. So stay tuned and have a great day. Thank you.